for their faith in Nigeria than anywhere else in the world. Since 2009, Islamic jihadists have murdered more than 50,000 Christians in Nigeria, and more than 20,000 churches, schools, and religious institutions have been destroyed, most burned to the ground. Scores of Christians and several others were kidnapped over Holy Week. Nigerian officials have been, unfortunately, complicit in facilitating these atrocities. At the state level, a dozen Nigerian states implement Islamist blasphemy and Sharia laws. At the federal level, the government looks the other way at Islamist violence. The result is, unsurprisingly, yet more jihadist violence. Last year, I introduced the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act, which would require placing Nigeria back on the country of particular concern list and impose sanctions on officials involved in enforcing blasphemy and Sharia laws. The U.S. government knows who they are at both the local level and the federal level, and they should be held accountable. I'm sorry to say that Nigerian officials are, at a minimum, in denial of the government's role. In October, several officials, including the Deputy Speaker of the Nigerian House and the Chairman of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, and a range of anonymous officials linked to the President, directly attacked me for saying that, quote, officials in Nigeria are ignoring or even facilitating the mass murder of Christians by Islamic jihadists. Last year, I met with a delegation of top Nigerian defense and security officials. They said they were committed to ending the violence. I told them I would judge their commitment by the results. Those results have yet to materialize. President Trump has established that the United States will use all tools of statecraft to counter the violence. He ordered that Nigeria be added to the CPC list, and in December he ordered the Department of War to target ISIS terrorists in response to their massacre of Christians. I'll note that the Nigerian government said at the time that it welcomed and indeed requested the actions. I find their statements to be somewhere between hypocritical and infuriating. In December, the president said that jihadists have been targeting Christians in Nigeria, quote, at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. What does the situation look like now, several months later, and what can and should the United States do to stop the mass murder of Christians?
Because some of it might be shocking. Nigeria, the sixth largest nation on earth, on track to be the third largest by 2050. Top 5 OPEC, $1 trillion in minerals, a cultural powerhouse. Nigerians are among the most educated and wealthy in the United States, and they do it with integrity, sharing the values that made America great. Last year, General Michael Langley, AFRICOM, declared the region anchored by northern Nigeria as the epicenter of global terror. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, others call it home. Their stated ambition, full Sharia across Nigeria, and then a global jihad launch pad. The recent Old Dominion shooter was radicalized in Nigeria. Two scenarios. America's greatest African ally, innovative, peaceful, and prosperous, or the greatest security threat of the next generation, a Sharia exporting giant. A little bit of history. In 1804, Usman Dan Fodio waged a jihad and founded the Sokoto Caliphate, Africa's largest pre-colonial empire. Beheading, raping, destruction, displacement, 2 million slaves at its peak. This caliphate has never ended. That's North Nigeria. The British found two worlds, brutal Sharia North and vibrant, friendly South. They kept the caliphate intact as enforcers, indirect rule they called it, then merged the two in 1914. The South declared independence in 1967, Biafra. The civil war that followed, the British backed the North, which blockaded the South, shot down Red Cross planes. Up to 3 million, mostly children, starved to death. The South fell in 1970. Since then, power has stayed in the North by design, the caliphate. The current constitution, imposed by northern military dictator, mentions Sharia in Islamic terms 165 times. Christianity, 0. At least $9 billion a year in blood minerals. are looted mainly by China, paying jihadis and corrupting military and political officials. There was President Goodluck Jonathan in his living room that leaned in and informed me about that. I know a lot of people there. I've been there a lot. Most of this is firsthand. Some key people that have been involved in this. Barack Obama unleashed the current genocide. In 2010, my first trip, Nigeria had an accidental Christian president, Goodluck Jonathan. Booming economy, only nation on earth where radical Islam was being pushed back. No slaughter, hardly any displaced people, just from random stuff. A northern warlord challenged Muhammadu Buhari, publicly called for Sharia law across Nigeria and globally. Boko Haram chose him to mediate with the government. Tunibu helped get him in office, the current president. David Axelrod was his campaign advisor. Obama blocked U.S. counterterrorism support to Jonathan, blocked other nations from helping. Jihadists flooded in from North Africa, villages massacred, millions displaced, raped, enslaved, kidnapped, churches burned. Buhari ran on ending the insecurity. It only got worse. Another person, the Sultan of Sokoto. He's like Pope and King to 108 million Muslims. Dan Fodio's 20th generation successor. He was a Nigerian general deployed to Pakistan and Afghanistan during the War on Terror when we captured Nigerian fighters alongside Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. He returned and assumed the throne in 2006, and international terror tactics and organizations appeared soon after. He has never decreed an end to the killing or mineral looting in his domain, but he's called social media a terror organization. In 2025, he publicly supported the push for Sharia in traditionally Christian southern states. President Bola Tunibu, if that's his real name. In 1993, he forfeited $460,000 to a federal court in Chicago and fled the United States. That was proceeds from a heroin trafficking ring, which, by the way, heroin funds 37% of jihad around the world. He has appointed a man to rewrite the national curriculum whose defining credential is the book, The Islamization of Knowledge, which explicitly calls for intellectual jihad to oust Western education from nursery schools up to universities. This is academic Boko Haram by definition. And this is the guy that Tunibu put in charge of the curriculum of 50 million African Nigerian children. His new defense chief called the terrorists prodigal sons who deserve rehabilitation. That's the defense chief. NSA Nuhu Rabadu personally called me on October 5th to be Nigeria's Jane Fonda. It is documented he armed Miyeti Allah, the Fulani militia chaired by the Sultan and named in HR 7457 for potential FEO organization. He has publicly called the terrorists brothers. Mossad Bulus, Trump's senior advisor for Africa and the Middle East, holds multiple citizenships, including Nigerian, lived in Lagos for decades. He parrots verbatim talking points of terror-linked northern imams. He is CEO of his family company, which currently profits from multi-billion-dollar no-bid contracts issued by the Tunibu administration, issued to his business partner. He sells the heavy equipment to build the no-bid billion-dollar, $13 billion in projects. This is Trump's senior advisor. He's also Tiffany Trump's father-in-law. Examples of ongoing failures and impunity. Ngoshe, Borno State, wiped out in the Gwoza massacre of 2014. The government recently assured refugees in Cameroon it was safe for them to return, paid them to return. Within weeks, on March 3rd, Boko Haram slaughtered dozens, more than 300 abducted into slavery, including the wife and daughter of a friend of mine. The military was largely AWOL. The attacks continue there. Deborah Samuel Yakubu, 2022, college student. After finals, she posted on WhatsApp, "Jesus is the greatest. He helped me pass my exams." The next day on campus, as professors and police watched, she was beaten, stoned, tires heaped on her, and burned alive, while students filmed selfies in front of the flames celebrating. The deputy imam of the National Mosque, who performed President Buhari's daughter's wedding, publicly justified the killing within 24 hours on his own Twitter account. No one was punished. Nnamdi Kanu, British Nigerian broadcaster from London, illegally abducted from Kenya, tried under a defunct law, now serving life in Sokoto prison for words spoken in Great Britain. Meanwhile, the northern imam just recently offered a 1 million naira bounty for the head of a pastor, then doubled it to taunt his critics. No charges, no condemnation from officials. I've been corresponding with the guy. He helped him get to a safe house, but he and his family are in danger and they need help. The Nigerian government goes to great expense to rehabilitate the killers while millions of innocent displaced victims are denied, neglected, and dying. The narrative war. The farmer herder and climate change framing started in the Obama State Department. The original reference document was written by a career Sharia propagandist hired by George Soros. At least $10 million confirmed U.S. lobbying contracts are now running. Former Trump administration officials, Nigerian government lobbyists, northern imams, foreign agents, conflicted advisors, and now even Russian state television are among those working to shield this regime from accountability. The real narrative is this. Nigeria is in the throes of an Islamic conquest. Since 2009, they have slaughtered as many as 125,000 Christians and 60,000 Muslims. This is not simply religious freedom issue. This is national and global security. The emergency, as many as 10 to 12 million, mostly youth, are now displaced. 50-60% chance of radicalization by 2030 without intervention. Most are denied by the government, who call them beggars and criminals. Without intervention, this could yield 5 to 6 million more jihadists over the next 5 to 6 years. Intervention is not hard. The international community has the money and the mandate to help if the displaced are simply recognized. In 2015, the UNHCR documented multiple displacement camps in Abuja. Today, they deny those camps exist. I have run schools in those same camps since 2020. They do exist. I affirm the cycle of violence is not inborn or inevitable. A lot of Americans write it off. Oh, that's just what they do. Yes, the children who saw their parents hacked to death often come to our schools wanting to go back and get revenge. But I can tell you, with an education, they gain character, hope, and vision, and they want to go back to rebuild. What must happen? Nigeria has long been strangled by radical Islamists, predatory extraction, globalist meddling, and institutional corruption. Working with the Nigerian government to end the genocide is like working with the Third Reich to end the Holocaust. They smile and spin as they wait for Trump to leave office. Since CPC designation, killing and impunity have only gotten worse. Sanctions will not work. Visa bans will not work. They're ideologues, and they'll just pivot east. Intentional denial of recognition and aid to displaced people, intentional denial of recognition and aid in this circumstance meets the legal standard of genocide. This is provable. Indict the Tunibu administration. Arrest them. They're guilty of genocide. And it's provable. Conduct a valid census and evidentiary briefing of the displaced. They are our witnesses to genocide and they need help. Investigate the Sultan of Sokoto as a terror sponsor. Circumstantial evidence demands it. We know where the militant camps are. Wipe them out. Bring the enablers to justice. Demand the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and other prisoners of conscience. Offer asylum protection to them and others threatened by this regime. Ensure a free election in 2027. It could be done for the cost of a Tomahawk missile volley. Tunibu was declared the winner with less than 9 million votes in a nation of 230 million. A free election changes everything. Let the people vote on a new constitution and self-determination. Like so many other British colonial contraptions designed to fail, separation is likely inevitable, and it is just. The time is now. Nigeria is at a crossroads. It will become either a peaceful, prosperous ally or a massive launchpad for global jihad. There is no going back to the status quo. If the world turns away after this unprecedented scrutiny, the backlash will be bloody and absolute. The window is closing. We must call this what it is and intervene now, or the current genocide will grow and draw more innocent blood, not just there, but here in the United States. Thank you.
Wow. I gotta know you.
Thank you, Senator Ted Cruz. You're absolutely right, and your words hit like a thunderclap in the dead of night. They're not interested in stopping the bloodshed, not for 1 second. These people are cold-bloodedly playing a waiting game, counting down the hours until Donald Trump is out of their way so they can unleash the next phase of their satanic agenda without resistance. Every day they stall, every empty promise of collaboration they dangle, Another innocent life hangs in the balance. The bodies pile up while they smirk behind closed doors, betting that America will stay asleep long enough for their nightmare to take root. My blood boils at the thought. How many more families must be shattered? How many more communities drowned in chaos before we admit what we're really facing?
This isn't politics anymore. It's survival. It's good versus a darkness that wants to drag this nation into the same hellish abyss as Sudan. Endless slaughter, collapsed order, rivers of blood where hope used to flow. Enough. America cannot afford to sit politely and negotiate with those who feast on delay and death. We must ignore their honeyed lies of unity. We must reject their fake handshakes. And we must step in with full force, right now, without hesitation, without apology. Our children deserve a future free from this creeping evil. Our streets deserve peace. Our republic deserves warriors, not waiters. Wake up, America. The time for half measures is over. The hour is late. The stakes are eternal. And if we don't rise with righteous fury today, tomorrow may bring a horror we can never undo. Stand up. Speak out. Act now, before it's too late. The darkness is watching. Let's show them we're still the light that refuses to be extinguished. Stay tuned.